Any other show business before we get started?
I don't think so.
Nope.
Oh my gosh, my chair won't scoot.
Amanda's having chair difficulties.
Yes. Hello, friends and fiends. Welcome to Bugs Need Heroes, a podcast where an artist and an entomologist team up to illustrate the inspiring abilities of insects by creating bug-themed superheroes. I'm Amanda.
I'm Kelly.
Producer Derek and Camazotz are also here. Before we get started creating this bug-inspired hero, what's bugging you, Kelly?
Oh, thank you. I love the little trail off there. Very exciting.
I like an 80s song. I just kind of trail off into the distance.
I'm teaching. I don't know if I mentioned on the podcast, maybe I did, that I'm teaching this semester at a university with friend of the pod, Dr. Ped. We'll be in the same spot teaching the youths, and I realized I have no clothing to teach in because I've just been shorts and tank tops forever. I haven't taught in a couple years, so I have to go clothes shopping, and I hate it. I don't like it.
Yeah, it's horrible. I hate clothes shopping. People are like, let's go, and I'm like, no, that's gonna be I've always hated it too. My mom tells stories about like, you were 8 and you refused to leave the dressing room because you will not put on anything else, so
it's just annoying. At least now I can have clothes sent to me and try them on my home and then return them if they don't fit or if I don't like
that's
them.
really where I fall down, is the returning part of any purchase. I'm like, I'll just no, I never ever do. I cannot allow myself to fall down this hole.
But I guess it is nice to get some like adult clothes because I don't know, I think I dress like a teenager sometimes because it's comfortable and I like superheroes. And I'm wearing a Jonesy shirt today from Alien. That's just my general vibe. So it's
well, I mean, I'm wearing a free t-shirt I got from a local business and Costco lounge pants. So, we're all out here doing our best.
We're good. That's true. Producer Derek is saying all my teen clothes are back in fashion. I think he's probably
That's true.
Right.
The 90s and the early aughts are back.
I'll take it.
And
I'm happy about it.
It makes me feel old. It's like the fashion cycle has sickled back to me. No.
Well, I'm glad I never had to get rid of my Converse. They never.
Yeah.
Really. I just get different colors now. And it's fine.
Drip never dies, Kelly.
But what's bugging you, Amanda? Anything?
Not much is bugging me, but I will tell this story from my mother this week. She went on a youth outreach camp this week and was quickly sending messages to the family chat with videos of a noise coming out of the chimney. And she was like, the kids think this is bats. Tell me it's not bats. And of course it was chimney swifts, I think is what they're technically called.
Yeah, little birds.
And they're very clearly birds because like she sends, I mean, even over the grainy, I'm camping in the hills, I'm sending you a video, it was like beep, 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 which like you would not be able to hear bats that loudly at all. But I guess like mom just kept describing it as the Yahoo. Because there was, there's like a camp guy whose job is to be like pest control, but I imagine he mostly just like leaves out bad cheese for mice and stuff out of the cabins. But he was Yahoo. She's like, this Yahoo kept insisting it was bats and scaring all the girls, I kept explaining to him that it was clearly bats so that my son knows. And I was like, wow, Mom. So I guess I'm just surprised that like people are still so scared of bats.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just left that behind so long ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of stigma.
I just don't get it. I think just because I left that part of my like animals to be scared of so long ago was bats. But I don't know. But speaking of animals that are unjustly scared of, that is our subject for today.
It is.
So it is. And
your story was perfect. Perfect.
Oh my gosh!
Good segue, Amanda.
Thank you. Sometimes segues segue you. You just don't even know.
That's true.
But we have our returning friend of the podcast, Kevin, with us today. Is anything bugging you, Kevin?
Heck no.
So today we're talking about the much maligned, perhaps truly, the quote unquote scariest bug something I
Internet's
know about.
favorite scapegoat.
Yeah, all the time.
Any amount of like, what is this? It's a brown recluse.
A spider that lives everywhere and nowhere at once.
Truly, Schrodinger's spider.
So Kevin, tell us first of all, what is a brown recluse, and where, most importantly, where is its natural range?
Okay, so a brown recluse is a medically significant spider, and I use the term medically significant and not venomous because almost all spiders are venomous. There's about 320 that are known to not be, and they're in Euloboridae, and I think there's a couple others in other families, but so they are medically significant because their venom can potentially cause us harm, and so that's why the panic and why they're so maligned, because of the potential. And what was your other question, Kelly? My ADHD is
Where
kicking
are
in.
they?
What's
Yeah,
their
their
natural
range.
range?
So their natural range is like the Midwestern part of the United States. I would have to look at the map to like get into
So
like
in
specific,
case
but
my mother is listening to this episode, not New Jersey. Tell all your
no,
friends.
they are not in New Jersey. And the thing is that they do well in structures, and that is part of why they're such a big concern, because they don't love super moist environments. And so when I find them in situ, it's where they are protected from a lot of the weather, the rain, and the things like that. But most of the time I just find them in my shed, or in an attic or a wall void. So this because they're reclusive nature. But
Really good name.
Derek, sorry, Derek's giving some instructions here that are making me laugh.
I definitely do. He's trying to claim that I don't know what in situ means, but I do know it. I just know it from literary terms instead of from bug terms. I speak Latin.
But when I typically see them, it's in structures,
in case
areas
our
that are.
listeners don't know what in situ is, that's
okay.
important.
It just
Although
means
Derek did specifically say Amanda, but
so rude.
So we do hear sometimes about sightings outside their range, and that's not impossible. How are they getting there? Because occasionally I have seen a photo of a recluse, and it's not in a natural range.
Where will we find them? In situ.
I'm trying not to laugh. I'm sorry. Okay. So the way that they would get to other places is simply because they do well in homes, they occasionally find their way into our belongings. And then if somebody moves from the Midwest to another area, wherever it may be, if there's a live spider that is capable of making more live spiders, and they get into the wall void or wherever they find a suitable place in a home, which is usually pretty easy for them, then they could start to reproduce and become more. And because they'll eat each other, they'll eat all kinds of bugs in the wall, they'll eat dead things, like they can do really well and their numbers can start to grow in these environments. But the thing that I used to be terrified of them, and the reason was it was the worst case scenario I was worried about, and then these horrible stories about how aggressive they are and all of these things, and it's all this all of this is based in fear and not reality. Because if people took the time to actually observe the spider, or observe me handling the spider, because I will do stuff that nobody typically does with a brown recluse, and I never get hurt. But if someone just watches their behavior, they'll see that these animals, we really aren't on their radar unless we force that, and it's the times when they kind of get in our space that we don't know they're there that bites do sometimes occur. And it's not them being mean, nasty critters. It's because they're getting squished into our skin, and they are a last resort biting, trying not to die.
Yeah.
And there was
a lot of spiders would rather not bite. Most would rather not bite.
Exactly.
It's a big energy expenditure to waste that venom on non-prey. because then they got to make more. It just
Well, it's
that's
not
where
a
you get dry bites a lot
it's
too.
not a winning battle.
Yeah.
Um, and they have the instincts that tell them that we're freaking huge and they probably should just get away, you know. And so that's goal number one with a spider is get away from this big scary animal. And and except for maybe jumping spiders sometimes.
Yeah.
They'll just be like,
Oddly
no, dude,
friendly.
come back. Yeah, bring your hand closer, I'll jump on it. But yeah, so just I encourage people to get out there and learn more. Travis McHenry did an amazing documentary on brown recluse that I was able to be
Oh,
a part
cool.
of, and he does These Are the Spiders in Your House, and he took off overnight because he's putting out really good information. He puts the work in. He's got a sense of humor. He even writes songs, and he did a song to help you identify recluse
Mhm.
for things that are not recluse, essentially. And
Is he on YouTube
he's
or?
on YouTube, yes.
Okay.
Um, but but there's so much information out there, and I talk to doctors, and doctors don't even know the information.
Yeah.
Um, every doctor that I've talked to in the town where I live, and I ask medical doctors about brown recluse every chance I get, and I've yet to meet one that's seen the mnemonic the not recluse mnemonic that is for medical professionals to stop misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
And the fact that I have yet to talk to a doctor that's seen it, I mean, I know it takes time for information to finally get its way to places
Do you
because
want
there's so
to
much.
tell us what the mnemonic is?
I mean, I don't have it. I mean, it's not recluse as the
Oh,
mnemonic,
okay.
but it's but all of the I'd have to look up to tell you what all the things. But like the first one is N number. If you have more than one lesion, it's probably not a recluse. So
Mhm.
everything in there is saying if this characteristic is there, it's probably not a
So,
recluse.
Okay,
And
it's numerous occurrence timing. Red center, elevated, chronic. Large, ulcerates, uh, swollen, and exudative. Hmm. So if there's a lot of bites, where they're located, what time of year did you get bit?
yep,
Does it have a red center? Is it a lump? Is it healing? Is it large? Is it progressing quickly? Is it swollen? And where is it on the body?
yeah.
I guess
So
those are the
a
criteria.
little, a
Just so you
little,
know.
uh, sort of aside. My mom lives in like an older adult community. My parents do, and she has like she plays cards every week with the women. And this one woman said that her, I don't know if it was her husband or something, that a doctor, again here in New Jersey, diagnosed him with a brown recluse bite. And I said, probably not. I said, that doctor's probably wrong. It
hmm
doesn't make any sense for where we're living. And they just kept arguing, well, the doctor said so. And I'm like, doctors are wrong all the
Doctors are still
time.
just people.
Doctors think everything is a spider bite, one, and it's almost never a
Right.
spider bite.
I've
Sometimes
heard
it's an
that like
allergic
every
reaction.
spider bite's diagnosed, like, 1 in 10 diagnosed spider bites are
It's an
actual
actual
spider
spider
bites.
bite, yeah.
Yeah.
Doctors can be wrong, and doctors are wrong all the time, especially about things that are like way out of their specialty, like diagnosing a spider, an insect bite, any kind of insect or arachnid or arthropod bite in general.
When there's like
Yeah, it could be
30 to
anything.
40, there's like 30 to 40 different skin conditions that get confused for a brown recluse bite. And that's
Yeah,
why this mnemonic is so important, because if the lesion is pus filled in the early days, it's probably not going to be a brown recluse bite, because that's an infection and not the
yeah,
reaction
that's
of
not what
venom,
happens.
and
Right,
so
right.
it's really pretty much above the neck, I believe, that it's likely to get more raised. Anything below
Mm,
the neck, it's not going to get super raised. It'll get red, slightly puffy, maybe in the very early
yeah,
stages, but in
it's
most cases, it's just
mostly a divot.
red. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then it turns
Yeah.
into a divot that starts to rot away. So if you have, and that's
Pretty horrifying,
only like just under 10% of the time. So it's not,
Yeah.
if you're bitten, this is bound to happen. It's, if you're bitten, still chances are nothing bad's going to come of it.
Mhm.
It's just going to be
Yeah.
a little red spot that heals up. And so
Yeah, there's just so much wrong information out there about the recluse.
and the thing is, like, when I really started to think about things, like when I was dealing with my fear of the spider, I was dealing with my overall fear of spiders and the fear of the spider. And I'm on the internet and I'm hearing people say things. Oh my God, I lost my train of thought. My Bluetooth
Okay.
speakers were on and they went off and they said power off, and it was like, squirrel. Okay, rein me back in here.
So the recluse has the double whammy of both being a spider and being a
Right,
scary spider,
right.
at least according to the internet.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I started learning, like some of the things I was seeing on Facebook groups from people who were knowledgeable is, one, they were talking very endearing about this animal at times, but they were saying this information that's like, the training I got in the pest management industry, like the people just within the company I was in, I wasn't getting this information. And and so I basically just had a lot of the information that scared people, and I just realized that there was a lot of, they just didn't know a lot of things. They were missing a lot of information. And so as I started to observe them and see their behavior, and I'm like, okay, this spider's always trying to run away from me. It never rears up. It never does anything. If it does anything other than run away, it's usually playing dead. It'll flatten out and it'll just, please don't see me, please
Yeah.
don't see me. And so that in itself, what in the heck is terrifying about a spider running away from you, and so it's things like that I thought about. And then get away from that and just get into the data, the things we know. So they want to get away from me. I've never seen, in observation, I've never seen them do anything threatening towards me. Thousands and thousands and thousands of times handling them.
Yeah.
I've never been bitten by any spider, for that matter. And I've
No,
handled
me
many.
neither.
But
Me neither.
so you add to that okay, so we've got this spider that has no desire to be in our space, and even if we are in their space, they still will do everything they can to not cause us harm. Then you get to the point where, how does harm occur? Well, it's because they somehow get trapped in your clothes or your shoes, or they're able to get into your bed, and you roll over or something like that happens. It's these areas where we kind of, in some cases, don't have control, but in most cases we do.
Yeah.
But they're getting caught. They're getting squished into our skin.
But when you think about the whole nature of the recluse, so a brown recluse, it's going to build a little web, and it's going to make a little thick part of the web between like a crevice, because it really wants to hide. It doesn't want to be out. It doesn't want to be out in the open. It's not really interested in being in your bed, because your bed is a big wide space. It wants a crack. It wants some rocks. Sometimes they venture outside of their web to forage for food, but usually they don't. So they're not, it's not like a wolf spider where we see my little babies walking around all the time, and
Right.
they're like around, or like you mentioned, the jumping spiders, which almost are interested in people. That's not them. So you're really unlikely to get bitten by an animal that wants to hide all the time. It just doesn't. It goes kind of against the nature of the animal. And like you said, they're scared and they will run away when they see you.
Well, I mean, most of the time when I'm doing demonstrations, I can't get them in my hand. Like, I get them in and then they run off. I get them in and they run off, and I'm like, no, I need you to stay here for a minute, because I'm trying to show people some stuff. I'm trying to antagonize you right now. Stop,
and they're not interested.
And they just run away. But the thing is, there's things you can do. You have knowledge. Okay, so we know that according to data, most bites occur when they're trapped in closed shoes or bed. So why are we not looking in our shoes and checking our shoes and tapping those out, or checking our clothes before we put them on? That's control we have.
Yeah. As an avid camper, I'm like been habituated to checking my shoes before putting my feet in them, because
Right.
I've done plenty of camping trips where usually it's a wolf spider in my boot or whatever, and you just knock him out and he goes. But it could be anything at that point. Once there was a big June beetle in my shoe, and big dumb fat June beetle.
Well, I mean, like, now that my life
It's
has
a good
really
place to be.
blown up and I'm starting to travel around the country, like, I don't take my own advice about brown recluse, and I have them in the house that I've been living in for the last 24 years.
Mm.
And so, like, I'm going to be going in places where there's scorpions. And
Right.
Yeah,
like,
you're really going to want to check your
I
boots for
always
that.
wear socks, so when I put my foot into my boot or my shoe, a brown recluse isn't going to be able to bite me through my sock. So,
But a
and really
scorpion.
most spiders in the area of southern Indiana are not going to be able to penetrate through my shoe. So even if they were in there, I would just squish them, which makes me feel really bad for not taking action before now, because I'm going to start looking more. But no, a scorpion, having kept some in captivity and seen the stingers on some of those scorpions, I'm positive they can get through my sock. And
Yeah.
so I know that I'm going to have to really start being more mindful of stuff, but I'm not afraid of them.
Yeah, you're
Knowing
just, there's a difference
I
between
have,
mindfulness and fear.
right, but I was the guy who was afraid. And that's what I want people who are listening, who are afraid or know somebody who's afraid. I was afraid too of all of this stuff. If I did not know what it was, if I didn't understand it, I was afraid of it. And I really knew next to nothing about arthropods 13 years ago. I could say that's an ant, that's a spider. I sometimes would be wrong in both cases, based on the things I know now.
Yeah.
So look into mimicry, folks, and harvestmen. They're not spiders. But
Yeah.
anyhow,
You'll be a whole episode on the harvestman.
I know.
Sneaky fakers. I was at a bachelorette party a couple of weeks ago, and somehow the conversation at dinner turned into how everyone is so scared of spiders, and I kept trying to be like, they're not medically significant. I'm like,
Oh.
no, they're actually fine. Like, you can get bit by a black widow. Like, only like a few people have a really bad reaction, like, but they just like kept going, and I was like, this must be how Kevin feels all the time, where like people are like, I'm so scared. He's like, listen, I was scared once too, but we can get through it together.
I don't use such harsh tones, but
oh yes, that's fair.
I
But I was
gotta
like
be
trying to like bring it back to like, no, they're actually fine. They're really, spiders are more
Did you
scared of
sway
you.
anyone's opinion, Amanda?
I think I swayed one guy's opinion that black widows specifically he could be less scared of.
Oh, that's good. Something.
Because he was like, specifically he was really scared of black widows. Like, I guess one bit his cat when he was like a kid, and the cat got really, really sick.
That's
and
a whole trauma thing he's been living
right.
with. Yeah,
so
that's
he's
hard.
dealing with like a whole other thing. And I
that
was
makes
like,
total sense why he'd be very upset about Black Widow. Absolutely.
And I was like, that's like a 1 in a million chance. His I guess his cat recovered, but it was like a whole thing.
Ugh.
And I was like, you can reach into your log pile without like needing to be scared for your very life.
My dad had a wooden birdhouse on the fence, and he was cleaning out the old nest for this, so the next bird could come in this season. And he opens it up, and we're looking at it, and I can see a widow in the corner of the nest, and I'm like, "Oh, Daddy, there's a black widow in there. You probably don't want to." He goes, "It's fine." He just sticks his hand in.
He was a man without fear.
He puts his whole hand in there and just pulls the whole thing out and drops it on the ground. I go, "What are you doing?" And he goes, "They never bite me." Just the daddest of moves. Dad, come on.
That's some New Jersey dad energy right there. Just
So Amanda,
it'll be fun.
What? And I don't know. I wasn't there because I'm getting the summary of what happened. But one thing I didn't hear is you asking them questions. One of the most
We
important part of me helping someone is, before I give any information, is to ask those questions and say, the first question is, what is it that freaks you out about spiders, or specific spiders? Because then I have the knowledge. I know what I need to tell them, essentially. So I know which data I need to start pulling out. And I don't get nervous at all. I can't wait for the next opportunity to talk to someone about this and help them work through it. So I think my excitement and passion for it, I think, helps people too, because they see this guy who can say, I've been in your shoes and I understand how you feel, and here's why I don't feel this way anymore.
Mhm.
And all of those things help people to connect to me and then just trust me a little bit. When somebody who's loved this stuff their whole life just comes to you and they're just like, no, you can't hate them. They're so great because blah, blah, blah. Well, you've always thought they were great, you
Right,
know?
right.
And yeah,
That's
and
me.
you know, and in my life, like I've probably when I started getting to my teenage years, I really started to try to, like, when I met new people, just see them for who they are for myself. So when people would say stuff like, oh, don't talk to him, he's like that, or
Mhm.
don't talk to her because she's like this. And but people allow that kind of information to just seep into our brains, right? And so we do the same thing with these spiders. We say, oh my God, they're so bad. And that's what people are hearing, is how bad they are,
Mhm.
but they never tried to get to know them. Now, I'm not saying invite them to dinner or take them out on
Have
a
a tea
date.
party with a brown
Right. I'm
recluse.
just saying, get to know them. If you see a spider, whether a brown recluse or some other spider, they are going to run away from you if you get close.
Mhm.
Yeah. I try to tell people that
Two,
humans
three
are
feet,
scary.
2-3 feet away is way safe and close enough for you to observe most of the spiders that you're probably going to see. And you can get closer than that, but like you can make yourself at a safe distance and go like, okay, I'm going to see what these dudes are doing. And it's
Yeah.
touch. And actually, saying dudes made me think of something. You were talking earlier about how like the behavior of brown recluse and how they're typically, you don't see them and whatnot. What
Yeah.
people typically do see when they see the brown recluse is they're seeing adult males who have reached maturity. And when
Mhm.
male spiders reach maturity, their whole purpose in life is to find a lady and
Yeah.
mate. And then they can die and they've fulfilled life's purpose. That's why it's not such a big deal to them if they get eaten by their mate, because there is some research done on widows that widows will sometimes offer themselves up to their mate for a prolonged mating
Male
experience.
fishing spiders too. Male
Yeah,
fishing
so
spiders will offer their whole
Take
being
me.
up, to make eggs out of all that protein.
yeah, and so we think it sounds so crazy because if you told me you were eating your spouse, I'd be like, I'd probably have some things to say, but but this is we're not, this is a different animal.
There's an episode of My Strange Addiction where that happens, and it is wild. It's like the most intense episode of My Strange Addiction.
but but
What?
but that's
Will
why
they
people
eat their
see the
spouse?
males.
She's
Amanda,
eating her.
you have to clarify this.
Oh wait, yeah, I'm
She's
jumping away
she's
from something
eating.
that needs clarification.
She's
Sorry.
eating the cremated remains of her husband. Like in
Oh.
in her
Oh.
grief, she's like, oh yeah, it's
Oh.
it's
I
bad.
guess
It's
we
bad.
we
Maybe
all
we
Might have
grieve
to remove that.
we all
It's
grieve
the
in
one
different
show I can't
ways.
watch at home.
But
Mm,
ew,
well,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
feeling
Maybe
like
talk
I
to
lunch,
mean,
but
someone
now I
before
don't
you
know.
start eating the ashes of your departed spouse.
that feels like some like I'm about to concoct like a spell that will release havoc upon this great and mighty land because the king like took away my wings or whatever it is. Yes, that's Derek says in the comments. It seems negligent for the show producers to not get them help. It is like the one episode where I feel like the producers are like, we need to step in, because most of the
Yeah.
time the formula of the show is, look how crazy they are for eating deodorant. Let's explain why they eat deodorant. Deodorant
Yeah.
killed their father or whatever it is,
Yeah.
and then they the next beat in the show is they send them to therapy, and they always resist. And then the therapist says, you can't do this anymore. And then they say, but what if I did? And then there's always like the credits roll, and there's like a 3 months later they're still eating deodorant. But this was the one where they were like, we have to do something now. We
You
have to
have to.
intervene
Yeah.
now.
This is
This is like, you're gonna get institutionalized behavior. You can't be doing
And
this. Yeah.
that
I'll
poor.
tell you, the
I
human
don't.
brain, it's
I don't know what I would do if I lost my husband, but it would not. It would probably not be eating his ashes. But
No.
I
the grief
promise you
hits
it wouldn't be,
people
Kelly, because
in.
I would stop
Yeah.
you.
Thank you, Kevin.
I
Okay,
would drive
take
to
this away
wherever
from
you
me,
are and I would
sorry.
stop you.
But I understand grief. Grief is a very difficult and
It is.
impersonal
It
thing to
rewires
go
your
through,
brain.
and
They
yeah,
did some
that's hard.
recent
That's so hard.
they did some recent research on it about like what happens to your brain when your parent dies. Like even as an adult,
Mm.
it rewires your brain. It
Well, I
like
was going to say, I
changes your
mean,
I'm sure. Yeah.
I changed. I mean, I had like I didn't deal with my mental health right away after my dad died, and I really thought because
Mhm,
I'm this, usually pretty positive, happy-go-lucky kind of
mhm.
guy that I was going to be just fine, and I knew it was coming. I knew when we got the diagnosis a year and a half before that the likelihood of him going into remission ever again was not going to happen. It just probably wouldn't be. And they even said 1 to 2 years, unless we can get him to go into
Right.
remission again. And they told us the first time he went into remission, this is going to likely come back within the next 5 to 10 years. And it was about 8.
Mm.
And we are likely not going to be able to stop it the next time. So like we have all been in this place to be able to prepare. So I thought I'd be fine. But people, if you're dealing with grief, well, if you have grief,
Talk to
deal
someone,
with it, I should
please.
say, because
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
the
Talk to
not
someone.
dealing with your grief. Reach out to people that you love. Don't let the anxiety cripple you. Because I've gone, like I went for a really long time not doing the things that I love,
Mhm.
and then it started to change how I was thinking and how I was thinking about other people, and I'm just feeling angry and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that's why I
It's
say the
not.
human brain. Take care of your mental health, people. It's
Yeah.
very
It's
important.
not your fault for how you feel, but it's your responsibility to
Mhm.
do
Exactly,
something about.
exactly.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
fine.
All
I
right.
think I just think
But
grief
let's.
is one of those ones that kind of just always it always will affect you. You will
Yep.
always be affected by
Yeah.
grief.
Any other
But
any
more
other
positive.
PSAs we want to do?
No. I think we're. So recluses in
So
general, right?
I wanted to get back to the mail thing because I don't know if I
Mm,
said it
Right.
stated it very clearly. Usually when people see recluse moving through the living spaces of their homes, it's a male looking for a female.
on the prowl.
Right. So they're just like, okay, it's that time. I gotta find me a lady,
Mm-hmm.
and then they find them a lady screaming and throwing a slipper or something, but
Right.
it's not the right species. Um,
So the males do die after mating? Because I know the females can live for several years.
I like directly after mating. I wouldn't say so because just from keeping them, I still see some boys running around in there after I see her laying an egg sac, but.
Oh, so they're fine then. Do males have multiple broods?
Lady loves.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I imagine that's possible. I don't know what research shows. I keep a lot in one enclosure together because I've seen when I find them in attic spaces or whatever, a lot of times I find them clustered together. They're not on
Mm,
top of each other, but they
they're
aren't
around
killing
each
each
other.
other, and they're close enough that they could be perturbed if they didn't, or see it as an easy meal, because it's right there.
Yeah, because they're cannibals, right?
Right.
So
And so seeing that, I was like, I'm gonna start keeping them together and see how it goes. Just give them a little bigger enclosure, just make sure they always have food, or not always, but are well fed. Um,
yeah.
and I sometimes kill crickets and put them in because they'll go for dead prey and walls. So like, I can always pull the cricket if it's starting to get moldy or whatever. So
If you have a bunch of them in one enclosure, have you ever seen them feeding on the same prey, or do they
yeah,
pull
yeah,
one prey?
I've seen two feeding on a roach. I've only seen
That's
two,
pretty
and then
cool.
I've seen the young actually gathering together and feeding, not just individually. Uh,
Makes sense for the young, but I'm surprised the adults
yeah,
do that. It's pretty
uh,
neat. It's very neat.
I didn't realize it was anything I, all that interesting. Honestly,
Yeah. I don't. There's thir 13 species of recluse
hmm
in North America, and I don't think any of them are super well studied, other than the brown. The brown recluse is probably the most studied because it has the widest
I'm
distribution.
gonna have to think about like how if I've seen it a lot or if it was like because I just know I've seen it.
Yeah, it's
I've
interesting.
not seen it enough that I would say like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. I just know I've seen two on a roach, and it was
On a roach.
decent sized roach, and it was a
I
pre-killed.
would check the literature for that, Kevin. And
Yeah,
if no one else has mentioned it, you might be
just
able to
start
publish
documenting.
something. If you need help writing, I can help you write. But um, yeah, I have not done a lot of reading about the brown recluse, so I'm not certain.
Um,
Yeah,
The internet says that they live an average of anywhere between a year and a half and 5 years if
yeah.
they're
so
undisturbed.
year and a
I
half
don't
is
know if
going to
that's the male
be,
or female. It says
yeah, I would
males live
say,
an average of 543 days.
Well,
but
I was reading at an extension service from Tennessee had stated that in the what they call ideal conditions, they think
Hmm.
the female, probably the female is what they're talking about, could live for 10 years, which
Yeah,
is
that's what I just
I,
saw too.
wild.
That they
it
had
wouldn't surprise
a
me.
lab controlled one that lived 10 years. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I mean
so
that like
which is long for a spider. Other than a
it
tarantula,
is,
tarantulas
yeah.
live quite a long
Really
I
time.
long for
But
mean,
any bug.
you've got the Cucocania, so like the southern house spider and other in the same genus that females live for quite a while, and they even molt after reaching maturity, which
yeah,
is freaking
yeah.
so cool. Um, and I mean, I've had one for 6 years, and she was
Oh
mature when I
wow.
got her, so she's not.
Yeah. So
I
who
don't.
knows
She's
how old she
looking great.
is?
I don't think she's gonna be around much longer. She's getting that. She's definitely geriatric, but but I don't know how
Yeah.
old she was when I got her, and she was an adult. And then to see just having a spider and just know when things reach maturity, they don't typically molt, and just to see
Right.
molt, molt. And she even, I had a member of All Bugs Go to Kevin send me a male so that I could uh, mate them. And so she ended up having a clutch and had babies, was able to document them and the babies, just like working together and feeding on prey, video
That's
of it.
cool.
Yeah, it was a cool experience. But
Yeah, the babies tend to stay with the mother for 2 molts, so it's probably a couple weeks before they decide
mm,
to extend out to their own territory. Or if they're in Kevin's enclosure, they just all hang out.
they did it faster than I expected, and I thought my enclosure was a little bit more baby proof than it was, and so I was actually catching Cucocania hibernalis all over my office for months. There were a couple I left on shelves because they were just on the edge of a shelf and they were catching the fruit flies I was dropping. So I just like, wow, I'm just gonna let you do your thing. But
Yeah. Yeah, that's
I
neat.
will say that the egg sac with all the baby spiders coming out of it does still trigger my like, uh-oh, get out of here, reflex. This,
Well,
so
they don't. So I like generally. I guess I compare everything to wolf spiders, mostly because
well, they're your
they're
babies.
my babies, and we did a whole episode on them. But where wolf spiders will have like 150 to maybe 200 to 300 spiderlings, the recluse only has between 20 and 50, so a much smaller
Oh.
clutch. Yeah, a little
mhm.
more easier to manage.
Yeah,
Um, I'm not 100% sure why. My guess would be a smaller clutch is fine if those babies are staying with you in a protected space, which was your
Mhm.
the sort of this funnel that goes back into a crevice for a few weeks. A wolfie's gotta, get out
She's
of
on the
a
move.
lot of babies because she's on the move and something's gonna just eat those babies. So
Yum, yum, yum.
I think that the
The
survival
sea
rate
turtle
is,
method.
yeah, the survival rate is probably different between
oh yeah, I'm sure.
offspring for the two taxa or groups,
I would
whichever
imagine so.
is
Yeah.
easier. But it's always interesting to compare when we're talking about bugs like this and bugs that we are familiar with. How are they different? Why are they different? And you put your science hat on or your science pants, whichever you prefer,
I don't
and go
usually wear
on it.
hats, so
Yeah. You put your skateboarding shirt on and your science
that's
pants.
right.
My science skateboard, in fact. It has tiny rockets on it. Whee!
So you have great. It sounds like you have a great love for this species in particular, but I'm assuming this entire group of spiders. Kevin, if we're going to make a superhero out of them. And I think at the top of the show, and it wasn't part of our recording, but Kevin requested that we not make it a villain, because we're trying to get folks to understand that the recluse is maybe not the monster they think it is. So if we can make it a hero, or maybe an anti-hero, the poor little guy. What superpowers, Kev, do you think the brown recluse has?
I should have thought of this before. Like,
That's the premise of the podcast, Kevin.
I mean,
I'm
Venom.
thinking maybe
is
he's like
so-
some sort of like violin playing librarian.
Well, that's the thing is there's nothing like. So I'm not a comic.
Leave him alone. He just wants to be.
I'm
with
not
his
a
books.
comic book nerd.
Exactly.
So I never enjoyed reading as a kid, and even comic books was not enough for me. Like I was like, yeah, that's not. No, thank you. Like I just reading just the idea of it just drove me crazy. So I never.
How
got
dare
into
you get off of
How
the
That's
podcast?
wild to me. I was one of those like a book every 2 days kid.
Oh, I
Me too.
still don't. I still don't enjoy reading. People are like, "What? How do you know the stuff that you? How'd you learn this stuff?" And I'm like,
I watched it happen.
Well, yeah.
Many
I wrote all.
documentaries.
Yeah.
I love this stuff that much that it wasn't as hard for me to sift through a scientific paper and go, okay, I don't know what that word means. Bring out the dictionary again until I figured it out. And I think part of it was I really wanted to know this stuff. It was really because it was life changing for me to go from this feeling of being afraid to like not having that fear, but even more just to want to connect with these animals in a way that showed me who they were essentially, and so anyway, yes, I have I definitely have a love for this species.
Fun fact, that's how producer Derek learned to read as well.
But
he wanted to read dinosaur books and realized that the books had all the information.
I do. If I do any books that anything that I can do, I will do audio because I can listen to it and I take it in better. But at book, when I see lots of paragraphs, I get anxious and then I just have a hard time. And then I read slow. I always try to speed up my reading progress, or how, I'm saying anyway. But I would just always find that I'm slowing back down to reading as if I was reading out loud to somebody. And that's just how I read. So I had to stop being nervous about that, but I do get overwhelmed.
Yeah, that's okay. Everyone reads at a different pace.
Like when I do message a lot of people with all the things that are happening, and some people are rapid fire messengers, and they ask you 12 questions before you can answer the first one. And like that is stuff I will exit a conversation when that happens because of my anxiety goes through the roof. Or if you send me like 4 long paragraphs and like it takes up more than the whole phone screen for one paragraph, then I'm probably coming back to it later because like I have to mentally prepare myself for it.
I have the opposite problem. I have friends. One of my best guy friends will text me one sentence at a time, but like press enter after every sentence, and I'm like, just write the whole
every
thing.
period is actually an
enter
enter.
to me. Yeah, it makes me crazy.
That doesn't bother me as much if it's
so don't do that to me, friends.
If it's statements, I'm good. If it's questions, I'm not, because you're asking me for input and then you're throwing out a lot of things you want my input for, and I didn't even get to the first thing, and you're giving me more, and so my brain just starts going, and I just have to back away from it.
I guess the youths these days have, and myself as well, have rediscovered like the send a voice note thing, and I guess kids today, a lot of them will send voice notes to each other instead of text, because then it feels more like you're having a conversation with your friend.
A good friend of mine does that. He never sends me a text. He only sends me a little voice note.
I prefer
and we go back
notes.
and forth.
I don't. So me and my friends will voice note each other.
I love the voice notes for a lot of reasons. Like I have some from Peter Yeager, who named and described the David Bowie spider, the huntsman.
Yeah.
And when I first reached out to him several years back, he started just sending me voice messages back. And he's kind of a celebrity in the spider world, naming some, spiders.
Yeah,
and
you know who Peter Yeager is.
Yeah, and so like for me, for him to just do that, it's like a special little touch to hear his voice, and he sounds like a phenomenal person. If I go to Germany, we're hanging out. I'm finding a way. 'Cause he just sounds like a really cool guy. But anyhow,
Superpowers of the brown recluse.
yeah.
That is to say, because we haven't touched on it. We
Yeah.
probably should say, how do I identify a spider as a brown recluse?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
I was going to
What
say,
do they
yeah,
look like?
I was thinking that before. I was like, we have to get into identification. That's really important.
Yeah. I see a
So,
spider. I'm scared of him. How do I know? That's the guy.
well, I mean, look at your location first. I mean, if you're
Mhm.
if you're on the West Coast, you didn't see a brown recluse. Now, it's possible if you live in a certain part of California, you saw Loxosceles, but it's not Loxosceles reclusa, which is the brown recluse. Now, one should consider anything in the genus Loxosceles, or really probably anything in that family of spiders, to be potentially medically significant based on what we know. But a lot of
Armed
them,
and dangerous.
a lot of them, because of the environments they live in, and they're not being found in homes and around regular humans, interactions aren't occurring. I think that they just don't get the label of being medically significant necessarily. I don't know. I don't know if Kelly, if you know more about that. I
Well,
just know that
yeah.
Loxosceles is
So
kind of
there's
considered in general.
The guy.
yeah. It's really well out of the 13 species, only 4 are medically significant because only 4 cause reactions
Okay.
to our bodies only react to 4 of the species.
But is it
So
because we only know that those 4 and we haven't tested the others, or we
no,
haven't
I
had the
believe the others have
situation to
been.
test? Okay.
I believe the others were tested.
Okay. All right. But yeah, okay, so identification. Brown recluse have 6 eyes. Most spiders have 8. There are some that have 4, some with 2, and even some with no eyes. But brown recluse have 6, and they're a pretty unique configuration. They could be confused for a spitting spider, but
Yeah, they look kind of neat.
yeah,
They're
yeah,
in like clusters of 2, so
yes.
it'll
So
be
there are
like
3
and sort
pairs,
of wrapped around the front of the head.
right? And so that is one characteristic you look for. So if you see the 6 eyes, you still have more to do. Um, there there are like 7 rows of hairs on brown recluse that kind of make up the fiddle shape, and they're on the cephalothorax, or the head of the spider, if you will. Um, and so, based on what they're feeding on, because there's also I think some muscles under there that help kind of give it the appearance it has too, but or attachments. And anyhow, but they don't you don't the violin isn't always visible based on their diet, and so depending on what they're eating, they could parts of their body could look green or red or even kind of purpley, and not always the typical coloration that you see. In some cases there's not contrast where you can really notice that violin shape. Um, so you so that's that you can't always rely on the violin, and that's the thing that people have to understand. It's a combination of characteristics.
Right.
So 6 eyes, the violin pattern, which is where the 7 rows of hairs are. The second leg, so we just called L2, which is the second leg back on either side of the spider from the front, and that's going to be the longest leg. It's going to be noticeably longer than the front legs. Typically, their coloration's pretty boring. The abdomen's typically uniform in color. You might see something called the heart mark on the abdomen. If you guys go to my YouTube, you can see a video of the heartbeat of a brown recluse, and we're looking at that heart
Cool.
mark. You
Very
can
cool.
actually see the heartbeat, and you can see it, not hear it. I have some people that will comment and say, "I had no idea it sounded like that," and I said, "No, it's a track. It's just a music track."
Yeah. Yeah. And
It would be
they
cool if
have
it
no
did, though.
spines on their legs either, which
Yes,
is
right. So
something
fine
to note.
hairs, no leg spines, and if you're curious about what leg spines, when we say leg spines, you can look at a Pardosa wolf spider or something like that.
Yeah, quite
It's so much
spiny.
different, yeah, and or a lynx spider, um, be another good example of like spiny, not but brown recluse, to the naked eye, you're not going to notice any hairs on them really.
No.
It's when you get magnification.
Can we go back to what's a heart mark? I don't even know what that is, but it sounds like you can see their heartbeat in there.
Yep. So when they're no, Kelly, you explain it. You're going to do a much better job of this.
I don't think I am, Kevin.
Do you want me to explain it then?
Yeah.
Okay.
You have a whole
it looked like you were
video
going
on
to
it.
say something.
Explain your video. No, I was
So-
I was actually thinking about Amanda's reaction to the
Oh.
whole thing, and that was
I've never heard that before.
Amanda's reactions are one of my favorite parts of this
a
podcast.
joy. Yeah.
Because no, it's a beautiful thing because it's real, and people are seeing Amanda learning about this stuff in real time, you know, and
Mhm.
Amanda knows a heck of a lot more now than she did before because of the podcast. But there's so many things because you aren't studying these animals. You're learning from Kelly and the guests on the show about these animals. And so you get to have these amazing aha moments that I got to have, and I get to relive them through you. And
Yeah.
and it's real, but it's cool. It's cool to relive that because that excitement, having that excitement is why I'm doing this, you know, to the level that I am, because I'm excited to see more of that in people and see less of the fear and more people just wanting to take a stand for these animals, and not just spiders, just all life on this planet, really.
I was just thinking about this morning. I was getting in my car to drive, and I drive past this patch of tansy on my way to. I record in my parents' office because it's quieter here because there's not two children. And I was thinking, I've never noticed these yellow tansy, and I've lived here all my life, and now I'm checking every single patch for Cinnabar moths. And I found some the other day, and I quickly, excitedly sent a bunch to Derek and Kelly, like, look, I found them. I found the little guys. So, you know, I was thinking to myself, if anyone has learned anything from this podcast, it's me. It's if we've reached one person, it's me.
It's you. And I'm glad. I'm so glad. The whole point of the podcast is to get someone to learn about bugs. And if it's you, if it's just you, Amanda,
It's just
great.
me.
I will spend several hours of my Sunday explaining bugs to Amanda.
Me and my son, he came to me the other day and he goes, now, Mom, it's important to know that if a spider is inside, you need to take him outside because he's scared of you. And I was like, gosh darn it, man, you're right.
The little guy loves spiders, though.
He does. Spiders are his third favorite animal. They have recently been dethroned by cats and dogs. But that is because he's 5, almost 6. And the pet crusade has slowly started.
Yeah.
Every now and then we get Mom, when can we get a cat? When can we get an animal? When can we get a cat? When can we get a dog? So
yeah, when's the baby old enough for this to happen?
When's my little sister old enough that we can start? And I'm like, it's gonna be a hot minute, dude. She has to be old enough to not dig through a litter box. That's what's really pulling us back.
Well,
so back to the heart mark.
Cardiac mark. Yeah.
Yes, heart mark. All this to say, what is a heart mark?
Okay, so I'm just proud that I got back on track myself. That's a big deal. So the heart mark is on the abdomen, or the booty, if you will, and
the front part of the abdomen.
Right, and so it's towards the front.
Yeah,
and you don't always see it because usually you'll see it when they're really well fed or gravid, because their abdomen's really swollen and full, and so it's stretched out, and so you can see that heart mark real clearly with the and you can see it with magnification much more easily. It's just with the naked eye you're not likely to notice, and so we're looking at when people are identifying it, you know, there's going to be a likely photo of it and zooming in, and that will be involved with a lot of people that are with the times and stuff, but there are also things that, you know, it's important to kind of mention their overall appearance so that when you see them with the naked eye. But typically abdomen's uniform in color unless you're going to see that heart mark. For the most part, coloration is going to be pretty uniform as far as like on the cephalothorax. The dark is going to be uniformly dark and the light's going to be uniformly light. But you also aren't going to have any kind of stripes on a brown recluse. You're not going to have banding on the legs or stripes on the legs for that matter either. So you're not going to have any kind of
the heart. We didn't explain what the cardiac mark was. Yeah,
I thought I
so
said what. Oh, okay. Sorry.
it's a place on the front, usually the side part of the abdomen. And like Kevin said, the more well fed that spider is, and the more uniform the color of the spider, it's much easier to see.
Uh-huh.
And under it is the heart, and you can see it beating.
I have now
with the
Googled
right kind of
spider anatomy,
microscope.
and the heart is like a long tube
Yeah,
along its
kinda like
abdomen.
Yeah.
It's like not a
It's not like a
centralized.
human 4-chambered heart. It is a long little tubey that, yeah.
This is
Well, and
wild.
their
I have
digestion is
always.
so cool too. I mean, the digestion is cool. I mean, they have a sucking stomach. They don't have anything to chew up anything with, so it's digesting
Yeah, they,
times turning their food into a slurry, and then they suck it up with the sucking stomach and digest their food that way. So spiders don't eat solid food; they can only eat, liquid.
they have like an internal straw, basically, that
Yes.
they're just everything up in. Amanda's face right now is both horrified and interested.
Well, I'm like looking. Sorry, I'm looking at like those cross dissections they do of animals, and they show you where all the. And I'm looking at one that says sucking stomach on it. Sure enough, and I mean, I knew that spiders were more hydraulic than we are, at least as far as like
Their limbs
go.
are all hydraulic, yeah.
No, they're
But
cool.
like, I don't know. I guess I didn't think about like that its structure might be absolutely alien in comparison to like that heart shape is blowing my mind right now. Like I don't even know that I would call it a heart in the sense that like my heart is, thunk 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 thunk, but surely this must thunk 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 thunk. So I don't know. It feels like something else. It feels like its own thing. That's crazy. Well, we've made it 2 years in the podcast, and I've just learned that spiders have beautiful hearts.
Beautiful
You can see
long
it. You can
hearts.
see it on All Bugs
I'm
Go
look-
to Kevin. I don't have a ton of
Uh,
videos, so you'll
I'm
be able
looking
to
at your YouTube right now with it, and the heart mark is really wow, very very visible
Okay,
on the
I'm
brown
going.
recluse.
I'm going. Hold on.
That's
She was a
cool.
big girl.
It's
I did it at
it's in the
different speeds
Discord,
because
Derek.
it beats very slowly, and so I did it at a faster speed first, so you could pick up on the movement, and then gradually got down to normal speed, so you could actually see.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Typical brown.
I've only seen I've seen heart marks in spiders up close that I've picked up, but I've never seen one like that. Like you're really zoomed in, and I've seen them in images and stuff. But what a cool video, Kevin. We'll have a
Thanks.
link to that video in the show
Awesome.
notes for
Thank
everyone
you.
to take a peek at, because it's super neat. And I hope you all make the same face Amanda's making right now.
So I do have a couple videos in there with me handling brown recluse and doing the things that I do in person for demonstrations and programs and stuff. But so that's there for people to check out. And there's probably my best handling videos are on Travis McHenry's video. Like there's some things I'm like, man, why don't I have that on my YouTube? I need to get that from
Just get it from
it's
him.
really good. It's like really good. You got really good footage. And it was just my cell phone on top of a stack of DVDs with a glass
Really?
below it. And then I did one test run, and I think that's on my YouTube. It's like around 20 seconds long, 22 seconds. And it's just a spider I had just gotten from the zoo out of a closet at the zoo in their guest center. And I put it into my hand, and it all right, I put it in the dish and then got it onto my hand. It crawled around for just a second and then back down my hand and right out. Just like it looked like I trained this thing, and that's the first time I'd ever handled this spider. But
I think Amanda has a question.
Yes. Sorry, it's just so funny to me that the zoo is like, we gotta get rid of it. Like they don't capture it and be like, we're gonna put him on display. They're like, get rid of this.
No. I working in pest management, I took care of the zoo, and they are very, very.
We got a polar bear that's out of control here, Kevin. You gotta come take him out.
None of that. No, not even if the polar bear had fleas.
Yeah, polar bears scare me.
Yeah, bears in general. Like I hope to see one someday, but in a safe manner.
Oh, I love bears.
Not at
They're not as scary. I'm gonna go on a bear crusade. Like Kevin's going on a recluse.
Kelly always picks crusade. The bear.
I always choose the bear. Don't tell my husband.
Mm.
Oh, so let's think about Amanda, you and Kevin, and I guess me. But if we're thinking about superpowers, you've now that Kevin's told us so much about these really incredible spiders, what do you think? Maybe some of the powers would be other than like venom,
Right.
obviously. Yeah.
Is there
Obviously,
a character that like hides behind the hero?
yeah. Well,
Would
that's why I
that
The
think
be
he would
cowardly
be.
spider.
He's like the guy in the chair, like
Yeah.
he could be a hero in his own right, but he'd rather support someone else because he doesn't want to go out there with all that mess, all
Yeah,
those people.
craziness.
But he's very good at, I think, being the guy in the chair. Okay, let's think here. I think we got to include the violin somehow, just because
Definitely.
Oh yeah, it's got to be.
I think he needs to be alone somewhere, like maybe he's just down a dark tunnel, like, and there's a
Yeah.
street lamp in the background, and he's just leaned up, against the wall in the tunnel alone, and just playing his
He's like
violin.
he's like Batman with the Batcave, but he never leaves the Batcave.
Yes, exactly. Like, I'm just envisioning
All
this guy
operations
alone. It's
happen
raining
from the
outside,
Batcave.
but he's in the dry tunnel because they like those drier spaces anyway, and he's just playing his violin and enjoying his solitude and hopes nobody comes and bothers him. What kind of character is that in a comic book?
That's what I'm saying. He's the support guy. He's like, I need to find I'm already on it, boss.
Oh yeah, he's the IT guy.
There
The
you go.
IT
There
guy.
you
Yeah,
go.
like in the cave somewhere.
Just doing
Yeah.
computer stuff.
Let's see. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out how to. So we've done the Iron Spider has the best Spider-Man legs of all the superhero spiders, because like it's just legs,
Yeah,
Mhm.
he's
mechanical legs.
very leggy.
Those are the best ones. Sometimes Peter Parker gets turned into this man spider where he has like I think he goes from Spider-Man to Man Spider, where he has like the terrible head and he's got all these like beefy arms.
Mhm.
I don't want to do that because it does
Oh,
feel very villain coded.
What about a Doc Ock situation, but with spider legs?
Yeah, I think that's the move. I think
Yeah.
that's the move. All right, let's see.
Or
here.
like,
Let's
I guess doesn't Peter have a suit like that too?
Yeah, the Iron Spider suit does that.
Iron Spider.
Depends on like
Oh, okay.
where in the timeline you are, whether
Yeah.
it was given to him by like Tony or not, blah blah blah.
I haven't had a chance to do a lot of comic reading lately, and it stinks because I'm paying for that subscription.
Yeah, the Iron Spider suit is the one that he has in the MCU, so that's the one people will probably know
people
the
will
best.
get that one.
Yeah,
and the coloring then will be but like tan and maybe.
I'm thinking maybe a 3-piece suit that's all just brown, so it's just like all color.
Yeah, a tan man.
He's wearing tan shoes with his tan suit.
I think that'll be good.
Right,
Kevin, were there any other like interesting life history things about the Recluse you wanted to mention? If not, it's fine. I'm just.
There's nothing.
Amanda's drawing, so I try to.
Yeah, this is the point where I kind of dip out for a minute.
Well, for me, the big thing with brown recluse is just helping people understand what they look like, so that we stop some of the panic, so that people can rule things out quickly and go, oh, it's got bands on the legs, it's not, or it's got 8 eyes, it's not. And if they look at lots of photos, the more you look at photos, especially looking at macro photos, really helps you to see the details when you're seeing them with the naked eye. Things that help you to identify them, but then learn the information that helps you to realize they're not so scary to begin with. And there are things you can do in your home. Move your bed away from the walls. Make sure you don't have bed skirts on the ground. There are things, if you've got brown recluse, there are things that you can do to take charge that don't involve pesticides. And it's stuff I talk about as well in that documentary. It's just about understanding their behavior and then learning to deal with it. And I'm not saying, if you throw them outside or you want to, relocate them, that's a bad thing. Like you don't just go like, oh, hi. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you have really, really high numbers of brown recluse, calling calling a professional to take a look at the situation is not a bad deal. It's not a bad
Right.
idea, because like if you have children involved or something like that. But in most cases, people are living with these in high numbers and never have a single bite occur. And if
Are they
they do,
fast for a spider? Would you say they're quick?
they're not like teleport level, like huntsman level of fast, but they can definitely move fairly quickly.
They can book it. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, people tell me
Um,
they're fast, and I'm always like, I don't feel like they are. And I think it's just because I'm so used to their behavior and how they move. And I don't typically, when I'm handling them, I don't have things happen that I don't, unsavory
right. Right.
situations. So, so I get, to me, they're just kind of a middle of the
Well,
road.
how
They're no nephosid, ground spider, um, or ant
yeah.
nymphs, like lightning.
Well, thinking about folks who might find these in their homes and want to take a photo. Um, is it pretty easy for a person to just snap a quick pic? How big are these spiders? What's
So
their
you're looking
size like?
about the size of a U.S. quarter, slightly larger in some cases. Males tend to be a little leggier.
Is that leg length or body length?
That would be leg length. And I
Leg length
use,
is the quarter.
yeah. I mean, body length, obviously. That's typically how scientists measure spiders. But when we're
Mhm.
talking about the average human being, they never use body length. And
Yeah.
so if you are
It was
reading,
the size of a silver dollar
I'm,
coming at me.
if you're
I'm
reading
so used to thinking about it
information
in body length. Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you're reading information online and it's really properly documented, you may be like, no, that brown recluse was way bigger because you're thinking about the legs. Um, but yeah, so leg size and all. And one of my videos I think has a quarter in it with the spider in a clear container, so you can
Okay,
actually see
great.
them in relation to
People
a
can check
quarter.
that out.
Um, it's a little bit distorted because it's pulled away from the quarter a little because it's under the glass and all that, but like it still gives you a good idea. But you're looking at just right around an inch. A quarter is just under an inch, so they can be an inch slightly more, but that's about as big as they're going to get. Um, so they're not huge, but they're not small. So getting a photo of them is not super difficult. And
Right.
I did a test in my backyard. I did it with a wolf spider. I think it was a tigrosa of some sort. So decent sized spider, definitely bigger
Yeah.
bodied and all that stuff. But I stood like fully standing and took a picture of it with the normal lens, just like the full, like without zooming or anything. And then I zoomed and I tried different things. And even with the unzoomed version, I could crop it up and I could see the eyes
Oh,
clearly
good.
to identify it as a wolf spider. So,
Yeah.
and you can get much more close than that. So if you can get closer, get as close as you possibly as you feel safe, get as close
Hmm.
as you can, and snap as clear a shot as you can. And if you can get a front shot to get a better view of the eyes, great. Get a overhead shot. Will usually give a lot of information um, to at least
Right.
get a genus level ID to know what you have. So
Yeah. As we've mentioned many times on the show before, spiders are getting down to the family at least is very easy because their eye arrangement. So if
yes,
you could just get a good look at those eyeballs, those little,
yeah,
then you can tell.
and I mentioned earlier about the spitting spider that there can be confusion there, but the spitting spider's carapace is domed. It's got a really high
Yeah.
dome.
They're round
Um,
boys.
Yeah, so if you were to look at a photo and compare a spitting spider uh, to any Loxosceles, you would see the difference. The eyes look very similar in arrangement. They're a little different, but very similar. Um,
Yeah.
and then you're going to see that high dome carapace, and it's just really night and day difference. So if you familiarize yourself with that, that's another characteristic. If you're confused with the eyes and trying to decipher between the two, that's your input.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Amanda, how's our hero coming
I
along?
just realized I drew him reading, and then we had that whole long diatribe about like reading is difficult. maybe I should have.
have him throwing the book out like this sucks.
Yeah.
No,
This is terrible.
I
I'm
can't
switching to
read words. Why
podcast.
do I have this in my hands?
Maybe he needs to be trying to think what else he could be doing if he's not reading a book that shows that he wants to stay inside. What do people do inside? They knit. They knit. That's what they do. Okay,
Oh, yeah,
hold on.
he's gonna make a web. They have a
Yeah,
web
yeah, of
business,
course.
So you can have him knitting.
Does he have some cats? Mm.
Yeah. He needs 100 cats. That's what they do inside.
Not enough
My God.
cats.
So another cool thing about brown recluse,
Zots.
I can already see what Derek's system is, by the way, when he wants to delete something.
He just pops.
It's because it
figured
pops
it out
his audio
very-
track, and then he could just
Yes,
track his own audio
yes.
track.
Well, also
No,
that
it's really
Zots
smart.
was
So
on
we're
his
going to see it
shoulders,
here again in a
which is great.
second.
Is Zot still on your shoulders, Derek?
No, he jumped to the window.
Aw, what a
To
jerk.
the window.
Not to the wall.
To the wall, Kelly. All right, hold on. He's making some sort of scarf for his friends because they're gonna have a cockroach live together later. It's gonna be great.
A little cockroach party. The
Cockroach
recluses.
party.
Oh, poor Danny
another
DeVito.
cool
We did cover
thing-
cockroaches too.
Another
We did
cool thing
cover
while
cockroaches.
we're just chatting. So another cool thing about brown recluse, the females, when they produce an egg sac, they will stay with it, and they put a dome of silk over everything. So she's under the dome of silk, and it is such a cool looking structure. I have photos probably on the Facebook group
Oh, nice.
somewhere. I think I took them fairly recently, but anything that Derek needs, video links or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we will share on social media Kevin's photos at least of what we got, and then of course links to your videos, to your YouTube videos.
Awesome. Yeah, whatever you need, I want to make sure you guys have. So, and I have a couple brown recluse photos.
Just a few.
Just a few.
Well, while Amanda is drawing, Kevin, can you tell the people where exactly to find you on the internets?
Okay, thank you. I don't have GPS coordinates right now.
Yeah,
No,
not literally, just internet-wise.
So, I mean, pretty much if you Google "all bugs go to Kevin," you will find so if you're not on Facebook, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, other places.
And it's all under All Bugs Go to Kevin?
And it's all going to be all under All Bugs Go to Kevin. So
Awesome.
once my Facebook group started taking off, I just figured I'm going to use that name for everything because I knew I was going to want to make things.
It's easier, yeah.
Yeah, interchange. But I also want people to go from my Facebook because that's the big one. If you want to go and you want to see what All Bugs Go to Kevin is really about, go to Facebook. And then my Patreon that should be up hopefully by the end of next week. That's going to be even more in depth. But if you want to see what I'm doing, check out my Patreon when that comes up, and I'll get a link to you guys whenever I do have it.
Yep. Yeah, we'll put all the links in the show notes to your YouTube, to your Patreon, to the Facebook,
right.
And you have Instagram too.
Yes, I have Instagram. I'm on Reddit, but I don't spend a whole lot of time there. But I'm there. And people, I'm accessible. If somebody has questions for me, you're welcome to reach out to me directly on Facebook through Messenger or something. I'm happy to answer questions. I don't ever want to be that person who's not accessible, and you may have to wait till I have time, but I will get to people if they have questions. So,
well, out of 8 legs, how many legs would we all give the brown recluse?
Well, I'm going to give it 9 legs because I think they need a leg up. But I have to give them max because they don't deserve the reputation they have. And my experience with them is just simply they are not aggressive. I've never been bitten. I've been in situations where I maybe could have been when I was too busy doing too many things and kind of pressed them in, and nothing happened then, and just seeing the behavior, and then just they're really cool animals once you learn more about them. And if you really look at them, and I'm going to share some of my favorite photos. They're really beautiful, and they're much more complex than they look with the naked eye.
Yeah.
But these
we're happy
animals
to
are
show
not
these.
out to get you at all. And just simple things you can do to keep, to avoid the worst case scenario. And so I
Yeah.
hope people learned some of that today.
Yeah. Amanda, legs?
I think it's really cool that, anytime that you're the best at something, I think you're automatic. Oh no, Kevin's giving me this stare now. I think anytime you're the best at something, I think that deserves props. And clearly he's the best at being venomous. So I think I gotta give him the props there. And I also think it's cool that he's so dangerous and yet he wants nothing to do with us. You know what I mean? It'd be one thing if he was just like an aggressive wasp who makes your face melt off. But he doesn't do that. He just stays at home where he belongs. Doing nothing.
Trying not to bother you.
Trying to get out of there. That's what I want. That's what I want in a venomous little friend, is for him to stay home. So I think he seems like a discerning bug. He's really only going to use his powers for good and escaping.
I agree.
So with that in mind, I think I got to give him the 8 out of 8, just because when you're the best at what you do, you got to get the props. So,
how hard did you have to reach for
I'll go 8
that?
out of 8.
Did you have to really get creative in your brain to come up with that?
It just lives in there rent free.
I just want to make sure my evil stare wasn't at all.
I'm somewhat known for being overly generous with the bug ratings, because every time I'm convinced that they're cool.
They need generosity, honestly, because
every single podcast I'm like, wow, this guy was cool.
I'm gonna give it a 7 out of an 8 because I think they're honestly unimpressive. The only thing cool about the brown recluse,
they got the one cool thing about them, and then they stay home.
The only thing I think that's particularly interesting about them is that people hate them so much, and that is not like a,
the necrotizing bite is pretty cool. We didn't talk about it much because we were trying to be,
not gross, but
not nasty.
Yeah. Well, that's why it's a 7. It's still got a gnarly.
Well, I gave 9, so
bite.
It still averages out to 8 for the three of us.
It still averages out. They're perfect.
And I like its little violin shape. I think that's very cute on the back of a little spider. But
I don't know if you guys ever clicked the Kate Beaton link of
yes.
If Peter Parker had been bit by a recluse spider instead, and where he just hides in crevices instead of fighting crime.
we should link to that in the show notes too, because
it's one of my very favorite Kate Beaton comics.
Yeah,
and I.
So if you look in the group chat, Kevin, Derek has put Amanda's character artwork on Imgur.
There it is.
Yeah.
It's just every time that Derek does something, it pops up for a few seconds, but then it goes. So I've just been paying attention. So
I'm looking at this right now, Amanda. Is that Kevin? Did you make Kevin the brown recluse?
I made it Kevin. This is why I changed it off of a book. Like, it can't be a book.
It really looks like Kevin.
It kind of does.
Kevin, you are the recluse.
I'm good with
you
that.
Are the recluse. Which it doesn't feel character accurate for it to be Kevin, just because Kevin's such a gregarious guy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't resist making it Kevin, just because it was much funnier if it was Kevin.
Kevin the recluse.
He doesn't travel in boxes from state to state. He just drives.
Well, what's a car if not a box on wheels?
Truly. Matchbox cars.
I love
what do you think, Kev? Are you pleased?
I love
play the violin and knit at home.
Oh, whoops! What did I just click?
But yeah, I try to give him like the computer bank that you always see, like you said, the Bat Cave where it has a big wall of computers.
Yeah.
And some of his legs are ticking away. Some of them are knitting. I guess his human arms are knitting, and then the other spider legs are playing the beautiful violin. Oh, Derek says he's answering emails from his adoring fans, saying, "Please identify this brown."
I love
He's
it.
Posting on Facebook.
I love it. And I love you guys. Like this.
The Entomological Society is going to be in Portland next year.
Oh, for the ESA
The
And
Essays
talk.
Conference is in
Yeah.
Portland. Yeah.
So I'm already beginning my all my bug friends need to come to Portland campaign. So Kelly and Kevin better get your boots
Hey,
on
if
and
I
get to Portland.
Come on
if
out.
if I can come stay with you, I'm there. But right now, with the way things are,
Derek has
it'll
a
be
guest room.
okay. Perfect. Hi, Derek.
We'll clear it with the wife.
Please do, because I'm serious. I
Derek,
will be there.
my son calls Derek's guest room the TV room without a TV because it's, that's what it looks like to him.
The mind of a child. Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
coming on the show and helping us to dispel the hatred of that poor brown recluse who does not
want to
deserve our
bite you.
ire.
It is my
Yeah.
pleasure, and you and I are going to spend more time talking about it until you say it's cool.
All right, if you ever have a bug that you need identified, please send it to All Bugs Go to Kevin on the Facebook group or any of the other places he mentioned as places to track him down. If you think it's a brown recluse, it's not a brown recluse, but we'll tell you what it really is on All Bugs Go to Kevin. If you want to talk to us, Bugs Need Heroes, of course, is Reddit, Instagram, Twitter. We're at all the places. You can come find us.
And bugsneedheroes@gmail.com. Send us your emails. We love them.
Yes, and of course our
We'll read
website
them.
of
We'll
Bugs
read
Need
them on the
Heroes.
air if you want. Why not?
Yes, if you have a bug question you just want us to answer as the whole episode, we'd love to do a listener questions episode.
That'd be, yeah.
So, hopefully we'll see you around, locked in your crevice somewhere, enjoying your homebody activities. But until then, we love you. Bye. Bugs Need Heroes was created by Derek Conrad and Kelly Zimmerman, hosted by Amanda Niday and Kelly Zimmerman. Bugs Need Heroes is produced and edited by Derek Conrad, with some assistance from Chelsey Bawden and a few cats. Character art is by Amanda Niday. Our music is Ladybug Castle by Roll Music. Got a bug question? Email us at bugsneedheroes@gmail.com. Check us out at bugsneedheroes.com, and most of the socials are under Bugs Need Heroes. Thank you to the Entomological Society of America for the Chrysalis Fund grant.
I know you've had a pissy day, but like, I need to tell you how much I appreciate you while I have you here. And
That's very nice. This will be at the very end of the episode.
I do.
With all the other stuff we cut.
It's just very important to me to tell people that when I have gratitude, and I have a lot of gratitude for all three of you, just your involvement in my life has given me so much. Wasn't going to do this. You guys mean the world to me. I would not be where I am without people like you. So thank you.
Well, now I have to include it in the episode, Kevin.
So I'll bring up my shirt. So this was actually given to me by a skater in Evansville, Indiana, because I've been trying to reach out a lot into my community and any community that I'm going into. And so I kind of connected with the tattoo community, and I used my photography, my love of photography, to try to get really good shots of these people and get to know them as well while I'm there. And then that led to me going to the skate park to photograph the competition. And some of the best photography I think I've done that,
nice.
related. And I went in not knowing anything. And so Ryan Tucker, for me coming and doing this, he got this event up and running in like a week, with all kinds of prizes and all kinds of things for all these local skaters. And it was such a fun event. But he gave me a shirt, and actually then he gave me another shirt. So I was like,
two free shirts. Love it.
Today because I wanted to mention him, because the skateboard community there is just amazing, and they impacted me so much that I spent an entire week. I went out every evening and hung out with them, and I just was treated as one of them. I won't get on a skateboard because I don't want to die, and and I don't dress the part or anything. I mean, I do now, of course, because I got a t-shirt, but
yeah, you got the swag.
But just as the stigma that I sometimes see around the skateboard community, and then to go in, and I don't go in with preconceived notions. I figured it out for myself, but to know that stigma is there, and to meet these amazing people that are looking out for the kids at the skate park, and they're mentoring kids who are wanting to learn. And I saw Ryan actually, there was a man there who didn't speak much English, but they were able to get enough communication in to see that this guy that rolled in on a bike thought skateboarding was really cool. He went to his vehicle, got him a skateboard, put it together in front of him, all the parts, whatever they're called, the wheels and the stuff that the wheels go on and onto the board, the grip tape, everything, and hands this guy a board and to keep.
Wow.
This is the kind of community that I
Wow.
got tapped into, and so I hope Ryan listens to this, because and tells the whole skate community to listen to it, because it's really special what I got to experience through that. So and I haven't even gotten into this last week. This could be a 2-hour podcast just talking about last week, and then Derek will.
Well,
be
we do
very,
have to get to
very
the
upset.
brown recluse. Yes.
Yes.
Derek is editing.
But yeah. So, and Derek, you can edit out whatever. But this last week has been pretty amazing, and I got to. I went to Virginia. Like, I left my 9-to-5. And I decided I'm going to go live this dream of growing All Bugs Go to Kevin and meeting members around the country and seeing their neck of the woods and taking it to the masses to see these experiences I'm having, and not just the bug experience, but the human experience is really important.
Right.
And so I'm going to start doing that through Patreon. I'm going to share in the group, but there's going to be a lot of stuff that if you want to really be connected and see what I'm doing and be even at the table to talk about what I do next, you're going to have to come to Patreon. And so I walked out of, I turned my keys in all my uniforms at my job. And then 30 minutes later, I was on my way to Virginia to meet Emma, who I've been friends with for like 5 years. And she sends me all her bug pictures, asks me questions. And just through this, through the last 5 years, we've just become really good friends. And so she was one of the first thoughts I had, because we had talked about meeting. And so I went there. She took me to do things that she's passionate about beyond bugs. And I got into the communities there and did the same kind of things as I did in my own community. And now I'm going to be 16 Blocks magazine, which is in the Virginia Tech area, Blacksburg. They're going to be featuring All Bugs Go to Kevin and my photography and me in their magazine, just because I reached out to them and I shared what they do on my own personal social media. And then I went to Virginia Tech and got to meet Deanie Miller and oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank of his name, the millipede guy. We'll have to edit that out, but Deanie offered her home to me to stay the night, to be able to stay an extra day in Virginia, to give me a entomology experience at the university. And so I got to see her research, and we're even
cool.
possibly me helping with some of her research in the future. And that is an area I know a lot about, and because she specializes in bed bugs and German cockroaches. And so I know that world because I worked in pest management for almost 13 years. And so, but to be able to hang out with her and pet on her kitties and her dogs and her dog and just spend time with her, and just for her to open her home up to me like that was amazing. And then to see the only millipede in the world with more than 1,000 legs, still,
yeah, it's pretty wild.
Years ago when it was found in Australia, way below the Earth's surface with no eyes and all, but the first actual millipede that lives up to the name millipede. And I got to see it. I got to photograph with my camera. I'm one of the only people in this entire world that has been able to photograph this animal and see it. And Paul Markham, I think is his name, the entomologist. Is that right? Does that sound right? Kelly, you know lots of entomology people.
I don't know Paul Markham. But maybe.
See, now I need to look it up because I need to give this guy his due, because he's a pretty amazing human. But
I see botanist. I don't see. Well, it's fine. We'll just cut. We'll probably have to cut a bunch of that out.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sorry, Derek.
We gotta get to the recluse.
You are right. Okay.
Although I am very excited. You're
yeah. Well, part of it was I knew that stuff would get cut out. I just wanted to tell my friends what's going on.
Yeah.
We want to hear.
But anyhow, I've already got plans to go to Colorado. That's probably going to be a 2 or 3 week trip. Probably will meet Paul
Nice.
Fishing while I'm there. Maybe and talk to them to see if I can get involved with Tarantula Fest, like all kinds of stuff. So,
Sounds
already got some
exciting. Sounds like
wonderful.
you're living your best life right now.
Well, we'll talk, Kelly. We'll talk more about it because I know we need to deal with stuff. And I got still have to drive home. So,
yeah, I'm sure you'll give me a buzz on your long drive.
well, I've got a lot of phone calls to make today.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it'll be today, but I will let you know what's going on soon.
Yeah.
It'll
Today
probably
I'm
be
all
Thursday.
booked up, but during the week, sure, give me a buzz.
Absolutely, sounds fantastic. All right,
And we're
so
all
we
just
got to move on
buzzing
into.
each other.
All right, so let's move
I
on to
don't
Brown
see you with
Recluse because
my-
I mean I will like I love you guys so much and I could just talk all day with you. So this has been fun. I had hoped to have like a lot of like stuff around me and I didn't expect to stay at Bernheim for longer than I did, but honestly I thought it was just going to be like I was going to pop in as I was on my way back home and I ended up here for two nights and so glad I did it. Amazing people here.
Yeah.
So, anyway,